Going on, everyone? And this is Mitch from RespectMyRegion.com coming to you live with the North American Weed Tour podcast, joined by special guest, psych co-host Joey Bravo. How you doing today, Joey?
What's good, man? Good morning. How are you?
I'm a little chilly. I'm a little tired, man. We've been trekking around the map on this North American Weed Tour, but we're recapping it today. We're talking about the travels. This is at least, it's hard to add up all these various pieces of content we've done, but at least the 100th live stream we have done during this year's campaign that does not include product reviews and some pop-ups and some other streams, things on Instagram and a couple other series that we've ran. But the core series that we ran this year, the Canadian Cannabis podcast, Grow and Tell, Northeast Cannabis podcast, Midwest Cannabis podcast, and the North American Weed Tour podcast, and then some of the episodes on the RMR podcast.
Legacy, don't forget Legacy.
And Legacy. So we're well over 100. We're well over 100 on this year. This is probably the 115th live stream then. George, happy holidays, my guy. Hope everyone out there had a good holiday season. And yes, 100 live shows running up. So we did over 100 live shows. And
honestly, I did 30 to 40 myself.
And those were product reviews. So I mean, if you're looking
at how many, I did the Step Academy. We did.
You're right.
We had a bunch of other shows.
So I was counting some of the core shows. So we're probably at 130 to 150. Apologies for not having the tally, but we put out so much content. We had to manually count some of the stuff. And I guess I gave up at 100. Look at me underachieving.
For sure.
But
we did gas or trash. We did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and that's just the North American Weed Tour is just a set campaign. That's not even all of 2022. We are not recapping the entire year. We are just recapping this campaign that was predominantly Q4 with a little bit, truded a little bit into Q3. So we ran over 100 and something shows in not even the second half of this year. It'll average out to about a live stream a day from our camp, and that's on top of articles, social media posts, and product reviews. I did not count product reviews because I didn't even want to try, but we're well over 100, probably 200 this year product reviews from across the map. And so Joey and I are just going to come on here, talk about the end of that, and recap some of the dopest stuff that we found while traveling across the map. Some of the places that we went this year were obviously, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Colorado. We had some people review in Florida, although Joey and I didn't get out there. Illinois, Massachusetts, Maine. We had some reviews come out of Pennsylvania as well, although Joey and I didn't get out there. Vancouver, BC, Calgary, Ontario. Trying to think of where else we went, man. New York, even though they're not quite on the market. New Jersey, Phoenix. Trying to think, man. I think that's 16 cities or 16 states, markets right there.
We bought weed in hella places.
We bought weed in a lot of places and reviewed it. And for those of you who don't know, when we are on the North American Weed Tour, brands reach out, dispensaries reach out. But what we seek for in products, it's not a cup where people submit product. It is something where we seek out, we do some outbound research, and people will tell us, hey, this is the stuff you should check out while in town. Some brands will say, hey, we want to put our name on the line and say that we're one of the best. We will help facilitate you being able to check out our products. And then Joey, myself, and some of our other team simply just pull up to dispensaries across the country and ask bud tenders, we're looking for two questions. What are the best products available in this store? And the second question, what are the most popular or widely requested products in the store? Because we feel that looking at both of those is a great way to understand what cannabis looks like in any market. The best and the most popular are usually not one and the same, although they can be, but they both serve a purpose. The most popular, maybe it's due to price point, but it's the most widely known. If it's being requested by name, that deserves some respect for us to investigate. And then the best is very subjective but you know, it's something that we're always seeking as connoisseurs. And someone asked, what city was the most memorable so far? I've got a 3-part answer for that, and then I'll let you answer, Joey. For me, as far as quality of flower, which I mainly smoke, I will say yet again, there's fire. Any state touching the Pacific Ocean has fire in it, but on one of my trips, in particularly to Portland, I probably got some of the best weed, the biggest haul of flower that I personally enjoyed the most on this trip. So for flower, I'd say Portland was the most memorable. And for experience based, I will say it was a tie between New York and Arizona. Phoenix and New York, they were just crazy experiences. One of them, obviously, New York, we went there in April. It wasn't quite online, so it was just a wild experience to be somewhere where cannabis was so normalized, yet not even fully legal. And then Phoenix was like a recreational state, but some of the things that we did and interacted with while we were there just don't exist in any other recreational state. So those two were the most memorable for me, or those three. What about yourself, Joey?
Best weed.
Well, he said most memorable city.
Most memorable city. Yeah, I'd have to say, man, Phoenix. Phoenix was like when, and I hate to say this, but only because I'm repeating what other people say. I went into Phoenix not knowing what to expect. I just have heard that Phoenix and Arizona want to be California so bad. That's what we hear, right? And I didn't feel like that at all. I felt like people were proud for Phoenix and Arizona in general, super proud of where they are at and the culture they have. But they definitely partied like Californians, that's for sure. So it's like I had the littest experience up in that hotel with the Mita Association. Shout out to them for including us and showing us continued love. And then I also have to say Boston's a close second, but also too, I mean, you got to think, Nevada, the MJ BizCon was lit again this year, and then the Hall of Flowers is uncomparable, right out here. No matter, even Hall of Flowers could go 10 step backwards, and it's still more lit than anything else anywhere. So I'd say it's a three-way. I'd say it's a two-way tie between California and Phoenix in terms of most memorable this year on the North American Weed Tour.
A lot of fire, a lot of crazy experiences. And again, when I was talking about Phoenix, we do got to shout out Phoenix. No, Clarendon, no, it was a Foundry Hotel in Phoenix for Mita. I'm not sure if they moved, but that was quite the experience. I actually told a couple other friends in the industry that are in kind of ancillary businesses that look to travel, everywhere as ourselves from a different perspective, but look to do similar things to us in terms of networking wise. And I put a couple people on after I left, and then they went and were like, bro, that's nuts. So shout out David, Destiny, and Dimitri over there. I just now realized they all three start with D on their names. The triple D, D3. But yeah,
They got that triple. That man, they got the trifecta effect. That team over there, crushing, killing it. Came up out of, some people really use COVID to really crush it digitally and then also be physically out there and the last year Mita has become a national force. Shout
yeah.
out to them.
Yeah, it's pretty, very respectable. So I want to recap, I want to start with a few things in terms of just some of the best products I saw. This is not an official list. This is just Joey and I rapping about this stuff. Coming to mind with what some of our best stuff was. Please keep the questions in the comments going. We'd love to interact with you guys. But I'm curious, Joey. This is a prediction. I'm putting you on the spot because I didn't tell you I was going to do this. But what was, in your opinion, the strain of the year in terms of what you saw the most, what seemed the most prominent, and not just most from like it's oversaturated, but most and seemingly in demand across all.
If I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, I know Jealousy was the winner for Leafly already, so I'm naturally inclined to actually agree with them. I think you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. We're actually inclined to agree with them, but you can't tell me lemon cherry gelato isn't strain of the year.
Mm.
You can't tell me lemon cherry gelato isn't strain of the year.
That's fair. That's fair, and I agree. You know, you and I spoke about that when we saw Leafly's list. You know, shout out Leafly; they're a great resource, but we've been a little bit critical of some of their strain of the year picks in years past. Violently disagreed with some of them, to wondering how in touch they were,
Yeah,
what
that
data
Dosey
sets.
Dose pick was like 2 years late.
I mean, years late, and then even Runts was 2 years late, in my opinion. But jealousy was their pick this year, and whether it was jealousy by itself or jealousy, crossed into things, I think that was a very respectable pick. This year was a little bit more difficult for me. I'm still leaning on. We talked about this at the start of the year. I'm still leaning on, I think, Gelato 41. I know it kind of tapered off towards the end of the year, but I think the first part of this year, I think Gelato 41 really had its run, man. It was really at the forefront of gelatos and runts. A lot of 41 stuff was uh was the most popular. So that's kind of my pick. I'm not in all of the categories, but when it comes to edibles, that's something that I know we both partake in. Um, and they're easy to try everywhere, especially, we were traveling around on the North American Weed Tour. Edibles are great before a plane, on a plane, recovering from a plane, whatever, right? They're an easy, discreet way to consume cannabis. Um, what were some of the memorable edibles that you had across the map, Joe?
The Betty's Eddies are the ones that really stand out to me. I know we just talked with their team the other day, and then I magically saw on Instagram just them whipping up that taffy. And living on the West Coast, living in the Pacific Northwest, being up and down and traveling, to the beaches in Oregon and oceans. What is that? What's it called in what's in Washington? The beach that they have out there.
We got Ocean Shores, and then like
Ocean
Ocean.
Shores, yeah. Going,
Yeah.
man, you could at every store and every restaurant, you can, they got saltwater taffy all over the place. So those Betty's Eddies for me were really, really hitting. To me, potentially one of the best edibles in the country. I haven't eaten. What are those edibles in Washington that have little fruit bits in them and whatnot?
Pioneer Squares, man.
Yeah, I haven't eaten those in a couple of years, so I'll leave it up to you to determine if the Betty's Eddies and those are different, or because that's easily the best one in Washington.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say Pioneer Squares bar out of Seattle from Craft Elixirs, I'll still say is either the best or a respectable contention for the best edible available in the cannabis industry, period. And potentially one of the better gummies, like a gummy that I've had that I wish I could just snack on. Incredible gummies, the Pioneer Squares. If you guys ever come to Washington, absolutely 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10, must recommend, must have, recommend. But yeah, Pioneer Squares for me. Pioneer Squares, Betty's Eddies. I liked the D-Tie gummies, the pineapple ones, those hash rosin from Natura. Those are always smacking. Um, Definitely one of my favorites. I didn't write them down, but I definitely had a couple more
I
in my.
also
Oh,
think the high bursts
okay, those are pretty good.
forefront are creamy and delicious. They remind me of taffy meets Starburst consistency and meets those vanilla Tootsie Rolls.
Hmm.
Like if you took the vanilla Tootsie Roll and mixed it with all these whatever flavor that they did, it's like that creamy. And then I also think that there's I forget the brand up in Canada, but they got I think like Raz or Fizz or something like that. But they got these um, peach cobbler gummies with real cinnamon flavor, real spice, crazy. And then they also have these root beer and Coca Cola gummies too, and those were crazy too.
And then I also got to shout out Wild. The sour cherries were one of my favorite gummies that I had this year. I know some people are split on Wild. I think everyone likes them to a certain standard, but when we're talking about the best, some people include them, some people leave them off the list. I personally toured their headquarters this year on the North American Weed Tour, really like their team, really like their vision, how their products are put together. And then just as a consumer, I don't even know how many markets they're in, but the way they're displayed is like the same in all these markets. And that's just it's something that's so simple, but so smart and clearly stands out in this industry. Um, And so I really like the wild gummies, notably the sour cherry ones were hitting. And then while we're talking about the best edibles, we cannot forget while we were at the Mint in Tempe, Arizona, you could get edibles fresh baked in their in-house
Mm.
kitchen, and we had that infused pizza that was absolutely it looked, it came in the size of what you would
Bro,
get almost in a
that shit was better than DiGiorno.
but it came in like a size where you would think off the top of your head, this is going to be like slightly upgrade from a gas station pizza. I have very little stock in this. It's gimmicky. It's just infused with THC. The bud tender told us there, it's actually good. Can confirm it is actually good. And they infused it. Yeah, so that was the Mint dispensary in Tempe or Arizona. I think some people are saying, "Where's that?" They're making fun of me. I think I said Tempe. Dang it, I'm messing up. I think there's two back-to-back comments mocking me there. I love it. I love it. But the Mint dispenser, they have a kitchen. You get infused pasta, infused chicken wings, infused take and bake pizza, or they bake it right there. Joey and I had to get that infused pizza, and may or may not have been told to move from the parking lot where we're eating it and had to eat it in the parking lot across the street. But it was great. It was solid pizza, and it was fresh baked, infused on-site pizza in a recreational market. It's something that I feel like you'd see in a medical market, not a rec market, and it was a great experience. So we have to shout out the Mint, shout out Raul and the team over there. Man, when it comes to flower, I'm more so brands that are going to come to my mind than particular strains and products. The first one that I will highlight that was one of my favorites and is going to be completely biased is the 7 days a week Respect My Region House of Cultivar collab in Washington. Not just because our name is on the jar. I want people to understand that. I just genuinely like smoking this weed. We called it 7 days a week, and we figured it, it was something. It was inspired by a couple things, but one of the main thoughts on that is kind of the flavor and the smoke. It's something that you could smoke every day of the week and enjoy. And some people actually reached out to us saying, "Wow, this is some great anytime smoke." But I have a jar right here of some smalls. I smell this jar every single day, not just because our logo's on the jar. We pheno hunted hundreds of strains and potential genetics to find something that we really like. George is fire. He pulled up to dinner the other night with some, but I love this nose and flavor profile on this. It looks great too, but nose and flavor are the two things I care about most. And we smoked through 150, looked at 150 potential phenos, whatever, to find this, and this was the one that had the best nose and flavor to me. So for the year end, this is for sure my favorite flower. Again, not just because our logo's on the jar. I love this, man. I love this weed.
I have to say that our weed, if we, if you were to be blind tested, and like if we were to enter that into a cup with cultivar, there's a good chance that that is potentially a top 3 to top 5 most fire cut, because there's definitely great weed out there. There's definitely more fire, better genetics, more popular genetics, whatever it is, right? But with this, it is legitimately liquid fire. It is fire. It is flame. It is fuel, pungent, lit on fire. The essence of the smoke in your mouth, the exhale, every aspect of the experience with this flower is something that could potentially either knock someone on their fucking ass or get a connoisseur excited to smoke it 7 days a week. It is something that you may not want to roll up fat ass joints of it because you don't want to buy it all the time because you can't. But at the same time, it's so fire that if you could afford it, you would want to buy it every day and smoke that shit every day. It's Mitch. What are the genetics? It's Gelato 41 crossed with an
Gelato
OG.
41 OG Kush times a wedding cake black lime vine. So you're getting some Kush, especially in the high, but you're getting a lot of those gelato, those sherb terps. But then you're also getting that wedding cake frost and like baked good that it's bringing to it. And
Yeah,
then
but
that
it has
black
that doughy. It has doughiness to it.
And I love that dough. A Spadillo, especially mixed with the gas and the sherb, like that's one of my favorite profiles. But then that black lime vines adds this just kind of like hard to put your nose
Liquid
on
black
it
licorice.
uniqueness to the flavor in those mixed with that gas and that cake, what so many people like. It's like what you like, but this truly different twist on it. And again, even of this particular strain, we had about 4 or 5 phenos that once we figured out this is this strain that we're going to run with, we had like 4 or 5 different phenos that were really hard to pick. This one was the lowest yielder, not the biggest nugs. There was one that looked, even though it looks great, there was one that looked significantly better, but the nose and flavor on this was just too much to not make it happen for the strain, man.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
that's
so that weed is definitely fire. I do have to say that a couple other super notable ones would be, I could mention them on, a couple different things in a couple places. I definitely feel like, what was the key happy key? What was it?
Happy Valley
Happy
in
Valley. Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, Happy Valley in Mass. I definitely enjoyed that super lemon haze that we got. Um, Obviously, Cultivar and Green Care Collective out there, they have some really phenomenal stuff going on there. They had some impressive cookies weed there as well. In Arizona, I've really felt like the sativa that Sonoran Roots was doing was the most terpene and impressive from what they had. And I feel like that's got to be something to say. I started my love for weed started with sativas, so I'm happy with that. And then
That was at Joel's Lemonade.
yeah, that was fine. Remember, Mitch, I used to smoke all that kind of stuff all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
You hated it. We didn't need to share weed at all. And
I actually had some of that. It was okay. Still not my favorite profile, but it was pretty
yeah,
good.
it was solid. And then the you know in Washington, I got to leave that up to you for whoever's the best. It might be us, but it's hard to say because you got to go smoke all that Lifted, because Lifted got fire, Tranquil Forest got fire. So you know that you and Bobby got to know that better than I do. But out here, that gumbo is really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Doja Packs, their Skittles, the RS11 that they got. I smoked some giraffe pussy from them earlier this year. That shit's crazy. Ted's Buds out here is crazy. Um, up north, the what is it? Fire Society is going crazy. Runts just relaunched. They're going crazy right now. All the shit's popping. You know what I mean? There's fire weed all over the place. Cookies is going crazy. Yeah, I'm blessed to smoke. I just smoked a joint of some Stoned Ninja OG from the Cure Companies. They got a bunch of OGs, so the OG game and the designer exotic game is just going stupid right now.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that Cure Lotto runts from Cure Company this year. Obviously, I like runts. I like the Cure Lotto, so I was a big fan of that particular cut. Also out of
That's a potent.
California,
That's a potent one.
that one, and then I like the Zashimi from Laughing Gas. I was clearly a fan. If you watched my
Yeah,
review or followed me online, I've copped that a couple times now in California. One of the times in particular was one of the best smokes I've had all year, easily. That Zashimi from Laughing Gas. I also really liked the what was it? It's from Seven Leaves, the Envy, like a gelato and biscotti, I think. I got that at Hall of Flowers. Honestly, didn't have low expectations, but it like really was like one of the most fire things I had at Hall of Flowers, in my opinion. Then obviously that oak fruitland, man, that V
oh
power,
man, yeah, you got to shout out Oak Fruitland. That V Power was crazy.
and then you mentioned Massachusetts, one of the ones, the Z power. Speaking, or what was it? Was it Z from River Run Gardens? I can't remember, Z power or. If I'm mixing that up with the V power, but it was like a Skittles back crossed with the runts, I believe,
Hmm.
from River. I mean, a lot of the stuff from River Run Gardens was fire, but that I think it was Z Power or Z something. That shit was stupid. That was definitely one of my favorite smokes. We had some kill out in Maine, man. There was some ill banana bread out there, and then a couple other strains that
Yeah,
we
Maine. We didn't buy as much weed in Maine as we really would, as we really wanted to. But for where we went in a true medical dispensary, they definitely had a variety of affordable weed that I would have smoked back in the day with my medical, and then I definitely some higher level stuff that we tried that was also impressive. So definitely an impressive experience overall with uh, with Maine, Massachusetts. New York was interesting. There was great. There was, I mean, it was California brands available. So you know
it was
that's what it was.
mainly Cali and Oregon, and then in Oregon, I mentioned that was probably one of my favorite straits. I know the Dirty Banana from Urban Canna was just absolutely nuts, man. That strain was nuts. Urban Canna is one of my favorite uh, farms in the entire country. Their gelato cake is fire. They just recently brought that back. I didn't have it this year, but I saw it on Instagram. But I know ice cream cake is pretty popular. They just call it gelato cake, but it's stupid. But their Dirty Banana was crazy. Eastwood Gardens had a horchata runts from them that was nuts. Resin Ranchers is always good. I had a designer OG or some sort of OG from them that was good, but I just got to put respect on their name. Archive Genetics. I had the Moonbow 112, which obviously isn't new, but the round that I had this year was
Shout out to Alien Labs and Connected as well,
shout out Alien Labs and
and
Connected.
shout out to Top Shelf Cultivation. That Wosuo is always crazy. People's
Absolutely.
choice, High Time SoCal's People's Choice 2022 Best Indica times
It's
two.
one,
Best Indica flower, Best
yeah,
Indica pre roll.
it's won a lot of awards. And then I'll round out, that my favorite flower in Washington, I think it was the Nightmare Cake from Scored was one of them. Sven put out a couple fire strains this year, but the One Piece was one of the ones that stood out to me. Taurus, their mint milkshake was fire. Gabriel really stepped it up this year. Tranquil Forest, I'm trying to think of what strain I liked the most. The Obama Runts was up there, but there's one or two, the Pick and Roll, or I can't remember which particular strain, and they are all unique, so that's why it's hard. And then House of Cultivar, who we collab with for our 7 days a week, but their Khalifa mints, uh, stupid fire. They put out a lot of good weed this year. And then I also got to put a little bit of Fire Bros and Legendary Labs and a couple other guys out here in Washington put out some fire. I don't have strains off the top of my head. And you said Lifted earlier. Lifted put out a lot of great work. Smash Hits, Chemdog. Yeah, Dan, it was that was definitely, I said memorable experiences, man. There's so many of them. Going and checking out Chem's Grow out in Massachusetts with Dan and the Smash Hits Canna Provisions team. That was pretty amazing, man.
Yeah, that's legendary shit, man. To be able to meet someone, someone like that.
Yeah, it was just having the conversation with a dude like that. That was definitely one of the most memorable things. And then also, while we're covering Massachusetts, we also got to put some respect on that Orange Chameleon strain, man. Coming out the vape was nuts from Berkshire Roots. That was a
Oh,
very
dude, the Orange Chameleon was was also some really good flower as well.
It was good flour, but then the concentrates they made off that with that just gassy orange. I don't like citrus like that. I don't like sativas, but when you mix it with gas, like, oh God, it's hard for me not to like that. And that was a good one. That was definitely one of the better vapes I had. All right. And then, we were trying to keep this episode a little bit short. Like I said, just recapping. We'll have some content on the site, kind of, going over some of our favorites and rehashing some of these best of. But Joe, is there anything else, from this North American weed tour? Any things that you saw that you wanted to share or memorable moments for yourself?
Yeah, I just want to shout out a couple of people, kind of by region. There's a lot of people in each of these areas and each of these regions doing really good things. And so, starting off up in Washington, big shout out to to all kinds of different brands. The shout out to the Lifted team still doing their thing. Shout out to Golden Garden still doing their thing. Shout out to the Bakery fam, for working with us. Shout out to House of Cultivar and Fountainhead Seeds and the entire breeding family over there for that project with us. Shout out to Cookies for working with Cultivar out there. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all these different people making moves to stay alive and to continue to push forward and to create progress for themselves. In Oregon, shout out to everybody, the entire cannabis industry out there in Oregon. You got Americana RX still doing their thing. You got Nectar out there doing the Oregon domination thing. They got like 30 stores now. Shit's crazy. So people, these companies don't really understand how a lot of people, over here and over there and over there, they don't understand how it works in these different areas. And so it's really fun, and exciting to go to these different markets and meet these humans that are really passionate. I know you went down there and met with the Wild team, and that's super exciting to actually be in their backyard, getting a better view of how this, massively popular company works. Shout out to Wana for leaving California and going and focusing their efforts on elsewhere, so they can continue to go make money and not, do it, get sucked into the California thing, right? Shout out to all the brands in California. Shout out to all the Humboldt growers. Shout out to all the NorCal growers, the Bay Area. Shout out to SAC. Shout out to Valley Pure in Bakersfield. Shout out to all these different people that have been supporting us along this tour, doing podcasts. Shout out to G4 Live for bringing us to Las Vegas this year. Big shout out to Keith and Cannabis Talk 101 and the Pot Brothers at Law and that whole family for supporting us this year and working with us. Big shout out to Revenant and Mita for working with us out in Arizona. That experience was really crazy. The Mint Cannabis team. That pizza, again, just to bring that up again, crazy, really solid weed as well. Jeter, Stizzy, Alien Labs, all available in Arizona. Really exciting stuff going on. Big shout out to Dominique Dabbs for taking care of us in Colorado and busting it out. Really been an exciting time to rebuild with him and get more reviews going in Colorado and that team. The dispensary that we worked with out there. Big shout out to that squad. What were they called again, Mitch?
High West and
Yeah,
George
High West. High West.
Hashington, and then Outlaw Cannabis.
Yeah, shout out to High West. Huge. We got a bunch of new members on the team the last year, and shout out to the Oregon peeps for holding it down out. Or I'm sorry, not the Oregon peeps. Shout out to the Florida peeps for holding it down out there in Florida. Um, there's just exciting stuff going on in all these markets. So we're excited to get to other places. Shout out to Illinois for holding it down. We got to buy weed out there and link with some dispensaries. There's a lot of culture happening, right? Canada's booming, British Columbia, all the way over to Toronto and these other provinces. They're all seeing growth and progress, selling a bunch of weed. Obviously, the economy's down kind of worldwide in a lot of ways, but the exciting thing is that there is growth and progress. There's more weed being available. It is officially basically a commodity in multiple places. There's too much weed for how many people are there, and so the prices will continue to drop. And although that's definitely kind of like a dark cloud over the industry in terms of like future, that's going to cause more creativity. There's going to be eventually better banking situations and whatnot to give these people an opportunity to continue to grow and thrive. And it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be real exciting.
Absolutely, yeah.
This
Shout
is
out
a
the
this is
host.
a really great North American weed tour.
Shout out the host. Aaron, Adam L, Aaron Lampansky, Adam L. GP, RMR Weed. Jake Robinson, man, everyone, that came in and then, Jordan Fleury, man, for holding it down for the Canadian Cannabis podcast. Shout out
Yeah,
everyone that came and hosted, Joey and myself hosted quite a bit, but shout out everyone on our platform that helped host, everyone that brought us out places, checking out, the drop, Michael Dillon out
shout out
there in
Natura
Arizona.
for hosting me for a quick tour. On a Friday.
Yeah,
Shout out to High
1937
Season.
group in Chicago.
Shout out to 1937 group in Chicago for giving us the opportunity to come out there and be a part of the culture and really experience what they're going through as part of the community there and grinding alongside them to still bring something and provide something dope to the people. The 1937 group really is doing great things out there, and we're excited to continue doing more work in Illinois with them.
Yeah, MJ Impact, Hall of Flowers, Boston Cannabis Week, MJ Biz. Appreciate all their teams for rocking with us.
Shout out to all the PR companies who work with us to actually get all these interviews and these live streams
Emerald Cup,
coordinated.
man. Yeah,
It took a
we
lot of effort. It took what, man, it took so much effort to coordinate all those shows and to reach and connect with all these people and blow them up on LinkedIn, email them, have them flake, have them follow through, have them, technical. How many times did you have technical difficulties? We got to have those bloopers.
Yep. So yeah, shout out everyone, and then shout out especially the PR companies. I gotta shout out
Grasslands for sure.
Grasslands for sure, man. That they really held it down in a big way, setting us up with content this year. They set up the burner interview. They set up a lot of the interviews that you guys see. that we did in person. Really great squad. Just great to work with the Trailblaze
Yeah.
PR team, man. Lisa, Leland, Alice, they put us on. They didn't just connect the dots. Honestly, they probably fed us the least amount of material to cover on our publication, but hooked us up with the most amount of opportunities outside of that this year. So definitely notable, someone that gave way more than they asked, which is rare and does not go unnoticed. And I just personally believe an unbelievable ethos and just values to live by. And I don't know if they say that, but I can for sure say that's how they're living. So really shout out them. There's a lot of other PR companies, but those are the two that really come to mind the most to recap. And like Joey said, cannabis it's growing, man. Legalization is sweeping the country and the globe. Cannabis is becoming a little bit more normalized every day. We still have a ways to go, but even going home from Christmas, I've been in the weed industry for a while, but the amount of people who have nothing to do with cannabis are talking about, are asking me questions about growing, or asking me questions about products or work, to the little aunts and uncles and the little things you hear in there about, I'm going to go have an edible and clean and things like that. Just things that I would never have expected in my entire life. That stuff's just becoming more normal. And it's sweeping everywhere. And like what Joey said, there is definitely this inevitability that big companies are going to come in here, purchase stuff up, use their money. We live in a capitalistic country where people who got resources can come in and dominate. And we have an aspect of that where that's going to happen. But there's also always going to be a place for craft. Anyone that can put out quality and build a brand and be able to connect that quality to the people, there's always going to be a place for that, no matter how big this industry grows. And so shout out everyone fighting to hold on to that piece of the pie as this world continues to spin faster and faster.
And to add to that, everybody, we are launching the International Weed Tour in March. You guys will get some behind the scenes footage and reporting, and a couple podcast episodes coming in live from Barcelona at Cannabis. Thanks to our partners Ian Rasman and Brett. So forget Brett's last name right now, but shout out to Brett. They're both going to be sharing some behind the scenes through our Instagram, doing some live streams, and then, like I said, doing a podcast episode or two while they're there in Spain. So we'll get started with Cannabis this year, and then Mitch and I will be at Northeast Can, which is a conference in Boston. And so you guys can tap in. We'll be in two markets in the same month in March. And from there, we'll be continuing to set things up throughout the rest of next year. You guys can definitely stay tuned. We're working on a couple of exciting projects. Obviously, we have some cannabis potentially for sale right now in Washington, depending on what's left. We'll update you guys soon on if there's another drop coming of the 7 days a week. And then we have Legacy Smalls 7-gram quarters available in California currently, available at our partner retailers. There will be a list of those retailers up on our website, hopefully by the end of the today. So stay tuned for that. And then so we can tell you guys where to go buy the weed, usually depending on availability. And then we are also working, everybody, on a couple more strains, a couple more products in that legacy brand product line that we have. So we should have some rosin soon. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching and hanging out. If you know, you know.
Stay tuned.
End of the North American
RespectBarAgent.com.
Weed Tour. Let's go.
North American Weed Tour 2022 is done. We'll put out a couple more written articles, but other than that, we're
Done.
done. I'm done with these live streams until the next year, man. All right. Appreciate everyone for tuning in and all the commentary and questions today, man. We'll be at you guys real soon.
Subscribe and talk that shit.